But you know who's also cooked? The Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns basically is in a weird limbo position because I don't really know what you do with this team, in all honesty. The issue with the Suns from the very jump before we even played a singular preseason game was the fact that they had no point guard and they got Bradley Beal. That trade, that trade was horrible. If we're talking about a person who finesses and scams his way to teams, Bradley Beal is that guy. Okay. I don't know how that worked. I don't know. I don't know how that worked. I don't know how he was able to get on that team where it made sense at all for Matt Ishbia and his staff that they could take away the quintessential point guard that keeps the team together and get somebody who's not a quintessential point guard that keeps the team together. I mean, have we not seen the last decade of how he played on the Washington Wizards? I mean, Bradley Beal is great and all, but he's not necessarily a winning player, nor is he a great point guard. And so now, which is a very confusing thing, especially if you're going to get rid of DeAndre Ayton, at least switch it up with a really, really good big. And, outside of their starting big, they just had Drew Eubanks as the backup. That's the best you got. You need to kind of pair it with somebody. But instead, they fleeced Golden State and got fleeced in return because Bradley Beal was pretty much out damn near the whole season. He didn't play well even when he was playing. He didn't know where to fit. And it's kind of hard to know where you fit when you're having two shooting guards trying to be point guard. There were times where Devin Booker was trying to be the point guard. There were times where Bradley Beal was trying to be the point guard. Nobody knows what they're doing. Frank Vogel's also having issues coaching this team because he doesn't know what he's going to do with two shooting guards. And then like clockwork, people blame Frank Vogel, especially, he's not necessarily the greatest offensive coach. He's not an offensive guru, but you're working with scraps. Majority of the cap is going towards three players. And so that means that there's a lot of pressure and it's expected for those three players to play absolutely phenomenal. Devin Booker played great. Kevin Durant played absolutely great. Insane. But when one of them, like Bradley Beal, does not play great, your team's going to struggle because they are hinging on the fact that those three stars can always play great. There's no room for error. And that is something that a lot of Kevin Durant teams have. They need to kind of figure that out. But this is kind of like the luck of the draw. This is what you want. This is what happens. They did not need to get Bradley Beal without your cosign. And so when Bradley Beal comes to the team and not knowing what to do, the team is going to struggle. And they did. They did mightily. But with the sheer fact that they have Devin Booker and Kevin Durant on the team, my goodness, will they make an actual push towards the playoffs? And they did. They absolutely did. They played phenomenal. They played great. But the issue always stems out, and the playoffs will always show your weaknesses. They will always show your weaknesses. Is the fact that they had no point guard, no true point guard. Ball movement became stagnant. Having to rely on so many sets to keep the offense flowing. Is the fact that they played against one of the worst teams in terms of matchup-wise for them. And that is just the Timberwolves. I mean, the Timberwolves are playing absolutely out of their mind. They're a great team, a great young team. And it is really exciting for me to watch great basketball being played because you have pretty much a team that everybody wrote off. And I kind of did too. It was difficult to try to fit and figure out how Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns is going to be on the same team. So shout out to Coach Finch for figuring that out and getting them all aligned because really their team is really, really good. But it takes that buy-in to play great defense the way that they do because it's not just hinging on the fact that you can have Rudy Gobert to clean up your mess. No, you have to play great team basketball. And this team shows it day in and day out. And they showed it when they went against the Phoenix Suns. Because my goodness, did the Phoenix Suns just got completely outclassed. Completely outclassed. You had Bradley Beal struggling. Devin Booker is getting hounded by Jaden McDaniels. And you have Kevin Durant who's just putting up 30 points because that's Kevin Durant. There's really not much you can do. But the team is struggling. And there's only so much you can do. And the Timberwolves knew that they were going to have to beat them, not through Kevin Durant, because they can, like every other team says that, Kevin Durant's going to get his 30. But if we can stop everybody else, we're good. And the matchups just was not in their favor. And so we don't know what's going to happen with the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns are in limbo right now. Bradley Beal's contract is just insufferable. It is horrible. I don't ever want to look at 53 a mil for the production that he gave up. D-Buck's future is also in the mix, so we don't know what's going to happen with that, although there are reports that he would want to stay with one team. You never know. But one team that's also in a very finicky situation that I think is not that bad is the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks is dealing with a weird situation. Doc Rivers is their head coach. Already red flag. I don't know what you're going to do with that. But it is not horrible, and it could be a lot worse. So what went wrong with the Milwaukee Bucks? Me, and my personal opinion, is that they gave away Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is a really good point guard. He is a person that is going to get a lot of people involved, and he plays great defense. And, outside of taking a few bad shots here and there, he pretty much takes very easy and open shots, But you got rid of him. You got Damian Lillard. That's who you wanted. You wanted an offensive juggernaut. But then you also fire your coach after 30-13, which I said multiple times in the past I'm not against if you can knock it out the park for the next coach, because they had a pretty good defense but an all right offense. And so they wanted to get Doc Rivers to make that, at least a little bit better, right? Make the offense a little bit better. But the issue is their offense got better and their defense got worse. And it really comes down to coaching. It comes down to Damian Lillard not being active on the pick and rolls. Damian Lillard not being active on help side defense. Damian Lillard being exploited when it comes to defense, on ball defense. But it also comes down to role players not playing great defense as well. And that all comes down to Doc Rivers being not necessarily a great coach. In my opinion, he's one of the worst situations that you can be in, especially if you have seen his track record. I mean, a lot of people have said that there has been no other coach to milk one championship better than Doc Rivers, because Doc Rivers should not be an NBA coach. He should be commentating just like me, but, on the NBA sidelines like he was before. But this team is not necessarily in a worse position than they were a year before. I do believe that there is still room for this team to succeed. Now, the issue was that Giannis got hurt. That was a big issue, the biggest issue. You cannot have your star player hurt. This is going to be tough for you to win, especially when you're going against the best offense in the league, one of the best offenses in the league. And so you're going to need that person that will break the defense, because that is what Giannis does. He breaks the defense. He wasn't there. The defense was not broken. Matter of fact, the Bucks were broken. But they at least tried. And as much as I rag on Doc Rivers, I cannot say that he did not coach a pretty good last couple of games. He did. He coached it well. He coached it well. But the issue is, there's only so much you can do with Giannis not in the starting lineup. And this is 2 years in a row now. So what does this say to front office and the front management? And what does it say to the players on the team? Would they want to stick by Giannis, who, you only have so many years left on your contract. You only have so many years left in your basketball career. And I'm just talking about Giannis, but you're talking about everybody else that's a role player on the team. This team has been pretty much the same team for the last couple of years. But that doesn't mean that we're going to stick and see this team for years to come. There will be changes that will be made. But my position, from what I see, I think they should keep the team as is. And they should only make one change. And that is getting an actual point guard. If you can get an actual point guard and alleviate Damian Lillard from his pick and roll duties, because he is terrible at that, I think that opens up everybody else. I'm not putting names out there. I just think that the Milwaukee Bucks deserves a good point guard who can at least play the pick and roll, because Damian Lillard does not know how to play a good pick and roll. He does not put enough pressure on the defense. He does not go deep enough in the pick and roll. He takes too little dribbles, passes the pass off a little bit too early. It's just terrible. It is not that great. But because he is such a prolific scorer, you kind of live with it, but you also can die with it. And so the Milwaukee Bucks is not necessarily in a horrible position. I do believe that it can be a lot worse. I don't know what they're going to do, but this is the time where the front office needs to kind of figure out what is going to happen, because this is the most important time for the Milwaukee Bucks. They already got rid of Drew Holiday. You don't want to be at the point where you're just getting rid of one of your stars just simply because you're trying to mix match and make lateral moves. You need to make a move that is purely in the plus. I don't know what that move is, though. But I will say, if they make a move that makes sense, I'll be the first one to say it. And I'll also be the first one to say that Doc Rivers also needs to get fired, because you can't have Doc Rivers on your team. He's not that great of a coach. And that's just the reality of things.